Hello everyone, I'm Zach Allen from the YouTube channel, Zach Allen Productions. Today I'll be showing you how to create Scarlet Witch energy effects using HitFilm.
This way.
I'm using HitFilm Pro, but you can follow along in Express if you have the 3D Particles add-on and the Motion Audio Visual add-on. Other additional add-ons are required to recreate my exact steps, but aren't necessary to achieve a similar result. Start by importing the video footage and making it into a composite shot. To create an organic energy effect that follows the hand movement, duplicate the footage layer and add a difference key effect. Select the original footage layer as the source, then shift the current layer on the timeline by a few frames. Hide the main footage layer for now to see the effect. The difference key effect will show any difference between the two layers, and because the camera isn't moving, the only thing that is really different is the hand position. Adjust the key settings to better isolate the hand, then use an animated mask to make sure that nothing else is visible. Use a fill color effect to make it white. Add a blur effect to soften the result and expand it, then brighten up the effect with a crush blacks and whites effect. This still doesn't look like energy, so add an atomic particles effect. Increase the X and Y resolution to the max, then increase the size slightly and reduce the random settings. Open up the fractal settings. Increase the display strength and decrease the wavelength to distort the shapes. Also increase the iterations and the speed setting. Scrubbing the timeline, you can now see what looks like energy trailing the movement of the hand. I don't like being able to see the individual particles, so add a small blur effect. To make the energy appear sharper again, add a subtle displacement effect. This will push brighter pixels in a certain direction, pinching the bright spots of the energy. To add even more detail and motion, add a heat distortion effect. Finally, add some color to the effect. I chose to use the color vibrance effect, but if you don't have this effect in Express, you can use another effect such as gamma or curves. Add multiple glow effects, increasing their radius each time to make the glow fall off more realistic. Unhide the footage layer and set the Energies blend mode to add. To create the more intense energy effect that builds up to the energy beam, we'll use the particle simulator. This effect will need to be attached to the actor's hand, so use HitFilm's tracking tools to track the motion. Check out the tutorial linked in the card on screen if you are unfamiliar with tracking. Drag a particle simulator onto the timeline and in the emitter settings, attach it to the tracked point layer. Trim the start of the particle layer so it starts when the energy buildup will start. The emitter behavior is already pretty close to what I want, as the particles are being created at a point and moving outwards in random directions. In the particle system movement settings, increase the speed and decrease the life, so the particles move quickly and disappear before getting too far away from the hand. Under Appearance, select a texture for the particles. I like the look of the Aurora Borealis texture. I also chose to enable Align to Motion so the particles angle towards the direction they are moving in. Set the blend mode to add and increase the particles per second. I found that a value of 500 worked well at the start. I then animated this value to increase over about a second, tripling the particles per second, making it seem like the energy was building up over time. I also enabled motion blur. The particles still pop in and out of existence and look way too bright. Open up the lifetime panel, and with the particle system selected, open the alpha parameter. Set the type to gradient, and add a black point at the start and end of the gradient. Also lower the brightness of the middle point until the particles are no longer too bright. I chose to add some movement variation to the life, scale, and speed to make the particles less uniform. Set the layer's blend mode to add. To introduce some more interesting movement to the particles, I added a heat distortion effect. Copy and paste the displacement, heat distortion, color vibrance, and glow effects from before, and adjust the settings. I found that the effect became too bright, so I lowered the intensity of the glows. I also added a diffuse effect to soften it. Create a new black plane and add the custom light flares effect. Use the tracked point layer for the hotspot position, then open up the options dialog. I like the look of the anamorphic spiked preset, but I adjusted some of the colors to be red to match the energy. Animate the intensity of the flare to increase when the particles start emitting, and to increase again closer to the end of the shot. You can also add some flicker to the light flare by adding more keyframes to the intensity or scale, or by adding a flicker effect. One finishing touch to help the bright energy effects fit into the scene better is to add some interactive lighting. Ideally, this would be done on set while filming using a red light, but it can be done with VFX as well. To create this effect, duplicate the footage layer and make it red. I did this by using a luminance key effect and a tint effect. Mask this new layer to show up where the energy would be casting light, such as the actor's face. Set the layer's blend mode to add. I also chose to add a slight flicker effect to match the quickly changing energy, and to animate the opacity of this layer to increase as the energy brightness increased. To bring everything together and polish the shot, add a new grade layer. I used multiple curves effects to create the final color grade. I brightened the image, then made the dark areas of the image cooler and more blue, and the bright areas warmer and more red. I also used various lighting effects to enhance the bright energy, such as glow, lens dirt, and anamorphic lens flare. If you are using HitFilm Pro or have the VFX Neon Lights add-on for Express, it is very easy to create great-looking energy beam effects. Create 2 point layers tracked to the hand position and the target position. On a black plane, add the Light Sword Ultra 2-point auto effect, setting the hilt and tip positions to the corresponding point layers. Decrease the width settings to create a thin beam, keeping the end closer to the camera slightly wider. Increase the distortion on the core and adjust the distortion settings to make a fast-moving energy beam that looks like lightning. Set the glow color to white and add some fast-moving distortion to it as well. Then, duplicate this layer multiple times, changing the seed for the distortion's noise, and changing the overall width. To create the effect of energy particles firing along the beam, I duplicated the effect again, removed the glow, increased the distortion amount, changed the noise type, and increased the animation speed. Once again, I duplicated this effect and changed the seed to fill out the beam more. To make the ends of the energy beam appear to emit from and target their point layers, I added bulge effects tracked to the points to pinch the beam at each end. Finally, give this energy beam the same treatment as the other energy effects, adding color, glows, heat distortion, light flares, and interactive lighting. And that's how you can create your own Scarlet Witch effect in HitFilm. Feel free to explore the project file provided in the video description, and to leave a comment if you have any questions or if you learned something new. Subscribe for more tutorials like this and be sure to give this video a like. See you next time!